Hi, I'm DJ Nikki.
And I'm Status.
Together with Beatnik, and this is our producer's house for SBTV. I'm DJ Nikki. I'm a DJ. I've been DJing for a long time, since I was 16 years old, like 150 years ago. And at the moment, I tour DJ for Kelis. I also tour DJ for Nicola Roberts. I've DJed for everyone from Jay-Z to Beyonce. I played all over the world, and I'm from London. This is my brother Status.
Hello, yeah, I'm Status. I'm spent most of my life sitting in the studio, EQing kick drums, working on beats. I've produced lots of different things, separately and together as Beatnik. We've worked on fashion shows, TV programs, and now we're working on actual commercial releases under our Beatnik name. It actually came together as a TV show that we made, which was a music TV show following Nicky's life as a DJ.
That was like 2003.
Yeah, so that was a long while ago. But I started actually producing when I was about 14. I had an Amiga and an old MIDI keyboard, and then I invested, I think it was about 90 quid, which back then was a lot, in an Akai S1, which most people probably won't remember, but it's an 8-bit sampler, and I just used to start making beats from there. And then obviously with Nick DJing, she'd bring a lot of stuff in and influences and play a lot of different music, and then we just started kind of coming together to actually create tracks.
My influences growing up, it's quite bizarre really, because when I was about 5, I remember having like loads of old disco music in the house, and my mum and dad had like a bar and a restaurant, and they used to always be playing music. Then when I was about 8, I got a scholarship to music school. So I did classical music then, and I trained as a cellist, and I did choir and vocals, and like basically carried that on until I was 16. By that time, when I was about 13, 14, I was in love with Big Daddy Kane basically. So I was listening to Chub Rock, Big Daddy Kane, all the like old swing beat, and that had a massive influence on me as a DJ. And also early house music. I love early house, so all the like Chicago stuff, Daryl Pandy, back to like Todd Terry, all those influences have been massive.
Seeing people like Crust and Ronnie Size and all those guys back in the day was amazing. And again, seeing Adam F do his drum and bass album but with a live band was a huge influence, because he had jazz musicians. And we once went to see Masters at Work do a 12-hour set where they had all live musicians and they were just playing dubs one after the next, and it was amazing back then.
They had Michael Watford in India, Jocelyn Brown, all of them came on live and like sang like a big sound system, so that's definitely had a big influence on us.
And watching DMC when I was a kid as well. I remember watching like Pogo, who since then Nick's become good friends with, and I went round to his house for a scratch session and got blown away by how amazing he was.
He's amazing.
But watching DMC again as a kid just blew my mind, that you could take records and actually use them as a tool to create new music, and even just seeing people looping beats and stuff, it just straight away I was hooked. Okay, so this is the Beatnik studio here. This is what we work with day in, day out. I'm going to run you through some of the pieces, what we've got and why we've got it. To start with, I'm going to say that we used to have a lot more hardware. We used to have synths, samplers, sound modules, mixing desks, but over time what's happened with technology is that everything's kind of come together, and it's now what they call in the box. So nearly everything we do is now just inside the computer, and then we will use external instruments with live musicians, but most of it is taken care of inside the computer. So the most important thing I've got here is my lovely Power Mac. That's pretty powerful, and it's the thing that we've invested the most money in by far. So my advice to anyone is get a good computer, because it's kind of the thing that's going to save you the least, save you the time, and do all the hard work for you. From there, obviously, a big monitor setup with 2 screens. It just makes life easier that you can have the mixer on one side, the arrange window on the other. You can be doing lots of different things at once, because if you're flicking between the windows or you've got them shrunken down, it can become very tedious, especially when you're editing audio, because that can take a great amount of time. From that, obviously coming out of the computer, is the audio unit, which is basically like a sound card used to be, but it's what they call like a breakout box. That's where you have all your inputs and outputs. This is quite a simple one that you can take and use when you're DJing or use other places, especially with a laptop, but the Focusrite actual inputs on that for microphones are very good. And it's just really simple and easy to use. We then move on to the keyboard, which is again very important because it will let you trigger all your sounds in your sampler, play all the instruments back. You can get them very cheap. I think this one's only about 50 quid because I put my other synths away, and it's actually simpler just to use this for the MIDI and nothing else. It has controller wheels for things like modulation and stuff, but again, just really quite simplistic. Now, possibly the most important thing in the whole setup are your monitor speakers. These are powered themselves. That means that you don't need an amplifier to go with them because an amplifier can actually change the nature of the sound. The reason that these are so important is because you want to have the flattest response possible. What that means is that there's no EQing on your speakers to push any area of the sound so that you can hear it perfectly and clearly, so you know how it's going to sound on the most different systems. I once was in an EMI studio and they'd used little computer speakers to make the tracks and then turn on the big speakers to hear how it sounds, because if it sounds good on bad speakers, it's more than likely to sound even better on the good speakers. If you do it the other way and make it on good speakers, as soon as it's on bad speakers, it will probably sound terrible. The one important point is to get very used to how your speakers sound. So listen to a lot of music and different people's types of music and reference what they're doing, and then kind of emulate it when you're doing your mixes, so that you know when you take it to a club, you're not going to have issues with kind of sub bass levels or certain areas standing out. But again, if you're getting your music mixed and mastered, a lot of the time the engineer there will take care of a lot of that, but it's good to just learn your speakers and kind of work out how they sound. The last thing, which is really important again, is a good microphone. That gets used a lot because we record a lot of vocalists. It's better to get a reasonably priced microphone. You can run on things like an SM58 or an SM57, which are used for live, but if you want to get a nice vocal, it's good to use a good microphone. What's important is learning the techniques of how to use a microphone, so you'll get different kind of variations in the vocal depending on how far away they stand, how much atmosphere there is, the room you're recording in. So again, it's really good to go back and learn a lot about acoustics to get the best response out of the microphone. So that's the basic setup on most things, because we do most of it inside the box now and everything else is run on virtual instruments, samplers and the effects that we use inside Logic. Because we're DJs, we go a lot of places and we meet a lot of people, and a lot of people come up and give us their music, or we perform with people, and so we kind of go around and handpick people that we really like. A lot of them are up and coming artists because we want to work with them because they're fresh and new and interesting, and we've heard them places and gone, actually you're great, we really want to do some stuff with you.
Being a female DJ slash producer, I guess I know because I've DJed for so long, that's very much in my head all the time, is my experiences as a DJ. As a producer, I guess that's newer for me, but the whole industry, especially behind the scenes, is male dominated, and there's nothing you can do to get away from that. So you've just got to either be better and then just work a bit harder, I think. I've seen a lot of girls come and go over the years, like DJs especially, and then they'll kind of do a bit and then other things happen. I guess for women, especially now, I'm recognising since working with Kelis so much, she's had a child. I've known her 14 years and the last 3 years she had a child, so everything's changed. But even logistically, as a female DJ and producer, if you want to have a family and get married, like, how do you do that if you're always out on the road? It's almost impossible. It's just like the rest of the world, I guess. Like, men are at the top of most industries and women are just making their mark now. But I do feel a certain responsibility, definitely, to try and help other girls come through and be some sort of inspiration, I guess.
So this is a Beatnik track that we're working on. It's a Beatnik track featuring Tyson, who's an amazing singer. I'm going to play a section to you now so that you can get a feel of the overall track, and then break it down and play you the separate parts so you can see how it's been constructed.
I'm looking for the bright light, bright
So when we start a track, the place we usually begin is with the drums. It's what sets the style, the feel, the tempo of the track. Kind of gets you knowing if it's something that's going to get people moving, and it gives a groove to the track instantly. So the drum section on its own sounds something like this. So the first element usually is your kick drum. This is the lowest range. It gives a lot of punch to the track. So on this track, we've got two layered over the top of each other. So a simple one there, and then a secondary one. On top of that, we then come into snares. These are then usually layered depending on what area of the sonics they hit. So you can hear, bring it in to give it a bit more kick. From there we then have hi-hats and other elements, a clap over the top, and then rides, more hi-hats, and all of this just builds up to give the actual groove of the track. So once we have all those elements together, that's the kind of basic drum pattern, and what we then do is actually EQ each drum separately so that it sits sonically where it should be positioned. Each one then we will compress, and then what we do is we take them, we put them all through one channel and then do the same to that. So we EQ out any nasty frequencies and then compress all the drums together, and that makes the basic drum pattern for the track. We then have other elements that are more like sound effects that add groove and interesting things to keep the ear interested. What we've done with these is pan them left and right so that they jump in interestingly and keep the ear very interested. So I'll just start and I'll solo each one as it comes so you can hear, and you can hear how the groove in this is built. We've got knife throws, we've got kind of strange bass noises. That's until you start to hear as more elements are being added. And you can hear that alone makes a kind of groove of it. So once you've got your drums and kind of your other instrumentation that's making the groove and the flow, we usually then will add the more melodic parts like synths, main leads, and then we'll probably add some sort of sub bass to give it a real shake when you're playing in the clubs. So on this one, the lead synth is this part. Now running alongside that, we then have the sub bass, but that probably won't pick up on this microphone. I don't know if you'll be able to hear that, but it's just the very, very low end, and you've got to be careful to sit that underneath the drums, especially the kick drum, and even use compression and sidechain compression, they call it, which what that does is cut out the sound when the kick drum hits so that they don't muddy each other.
And it's the same notes in the same key, so it follows along the lead, doesn't it?
Yeah, in that particular instance it does, which makes things quite simple, because again, the more you produce, the more you find actually the less sounds you can use and the more simplistic you can make it, the more effect that has, because it doesn't kind of get in the way or clash with other elements. From there, what we'd normally do once we've got all the synths and the sub and all the track in position is then get the vocalist in, and together we'll co-write with them and work on the actual vocals. We then have some other elements in there. So again, that's an old breakbeat, an old jungle breakbeat, but we've mixed it really quietly into the background, so when it drops you don't really notice it, but
just gives it more energy basically, doesn't it? Yeah, it adds to the track. Put them all together, mix it all down, use a lot of EQing to make sure that every element fits well with each other element, and then your track's pretty much finished then. Anything you want to be really good at from DJing, like the people that just kind of now just say I'm a DJ and just go to a club and play CDs, that absolutely baffles me, because to be truly good at something and to be known and respected for it, you have to practice, and that is like the most important thing I can say about anything, whether it's being a musician, a rapper. Analyze things and practice your arse off basically.
We're Beatnik, and you can check us out at beatniktv.com.
Also, holler at us on Twitter at DJ Nikki Beatnik, at Status Beatnik. This has been our producer's house for SBTV.